the human ability to confront the truth, realize that it's the truth, and go into the survival mode and learn to deal with that truth and overcome it if necessary and prevail is astounding. But the fact remains that human beings must know what that truth is before they can go into the mode that lets them overcome it. And there is a tendency, a great tendency, for most people to ignore the truth unless they are backed in the corner and the truth becomes threatening to them personally. Most people have the tendency to say, oh yes, I know that that's going on, but it's not going to happen to me. And whoever it happens to must deserve it. Remember that fellow, 3 days ago they raided his home in the middle of the night and they took out all those guns and they spread them on the grass and they said that he was a terrorist and they took him away. And then in the newspaper it talked about the fact that he was a member of a militia and they were going to lock this guy up forever because he was going to blow up the Empire State Building. I always knew there was something funny about him. He was always talking about the Constitution things. Nobody ever talks about those things. But it'll never happen to me. You recognize anybody there? Maybe yourself. Maybe your neighbor. You see, they have the public so brainwashed, ladies and gentlemen, that you can have an exemplary citizen. A neighbor whose home you have visited many, many times. You have seen the kinds of guns he has, a shotgun, a deer rifle, a pistol, maybe a .22 rifle that he's had ever since he was a child. He may have brought an AK-47 back from Vietnam, or he may have purchased one simply because in Vietnam he learned that that's one of the best weapons ever made in the history of the world. And he may have it there for self-defense, or he may just have it as a bit of nostalgia. Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's perfectly legal and lawful. And the right is protected by the Constitution for the United States of America. You know that thing he talks about sometimes that you've never read? And all of a sudden he becomes a political threat to the status quo. And in the middle of the night they raid his home. They spread these weapons out on his grass. They have a picture of these weapons in the newspaper the next day. On the 6 o'clock news, the anchor talks about Joe's house was raided, and it was found that Joe had been planning to blow up the Empire State Building, and he had automatic weapons. Now, you're sitting there, you know this is a lie, but you don't say a word, do you? No, you don't. Nobody has. And nobody will, and even if you did, nobody would report it on the news or in the newspapers. How do I know all this, ladies and gentlemen? Because it's happening all across the country. All across this country it's happening. It happened in Waco, Texas.